tongue. There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I'll fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, desperate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all with your wings entwining. You better face the fall. Zero. Everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure. Forever young, or am I faking? On the tip of my tongue, there's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I'll fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, desperate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they
Hello and welcome here to Chicagoland. Welcome to Chicago. This is going to be a blast. Another race in the Great Lakes Cup Series, race number 6. We're approaching that halfway point. Here we are for the Roundabout Gaming 200 at Chicagoland Speedway. And I'm joined in the booth with Alex. Alex, how you doing, man, after that Tuesday run?
We're doing all right. I'm glad to be coming back to an oval, and this time not down on the track, but this time up here in the booth. Probably going to have some fun tonight. This is a great track for it.
Yeah, I love Chicagoland. Multi-groove racing always puts on a phenomenal show, and I think we're going to have another one here for you today here in the Great Lakes Cup Series. On the pole, we have last week's winner at Las Vegas, Jacob Branski. Jacob Branski put on a fantastic lap, and he was one of the quicker guys in practice. Wasn't the quickest, but he wound it up out on pole for today's event. And then on his outside in the second spot, looks like it's going to be Zach Rogers in that number 4 machine.
Following them inside, last year's champion Christopher Heller alongside Jacob Manning.
In row number 3 on the inside in that 5th spot, you have Matt Daniels. Then on the outside in the 6th spot, you have Nathan Nicholson.
Right behind them, 17 of Hunter Madalinas and the 37 of Elliot Henderson.
In the next row, in the 9th spot, you have Austin Moore. And then on the outside in the 10th spot, you have Lewis Woodall.
And then rounding out our smaller field for tonight is the 12 of Tyler McClellan and the 86 of Brandon White.
We have a 12-car show for you today. Chicagoland, a very racy racetrack. And this is actually the first time that the Great Lakes Cup Series is going to visit the Great Speedway in Chicago. So this should be fun for a lot of these drivers. And Jacob Branski's right out there on front. We're going to take a look at the point standings right now. Elliot Henderson comes into this race, your points leader, with Branski, the dog himself, right behind him, 5 points. Nathan Nicholson, 8 points out of your points lead. Christopher Heller in the 4th spot, 18 points out. And then rounding out your top 5 currently in points, you have Scott Stewart, who's 37 points out of the race lead with the points lead of Henderson. Scott Stewart is not in today's event. And as I've mentioned here before, the Great Lakes Cup Series does not have playoffs. It's like the old-styled Winston Cup points almost. So these drivers are going to need to get as many points as they can here today, as we're almost halfway through season number 3 of the Great Lakes Cup Series. What are you looking forward to today, Alex?
Well, looking at our starting order, the one thing I am looking forward to is, you noted on the points sheet, Jacob Branski second in points just behind Elliot Henderson. Branski on the pole right now, and Elliot Henderson down in 8th place. So Elliot's going to have to find a lot of positions to get up there and challenge Branski. If not, he could lose the points lead this late in the season.
Yeah, it seems like the early battle for possibly the Season 3 championship. It's been Branski and Henderson here in the early portions, but you still have Nicholson and Heller right there as well that can make up a lot of points here tonight and put themselves right there in the midst of this battle halfway through season number 3 for the Season 3 championship of the Great Lakes Cup Series presented by ButtKicker. We're going to go green flag racing this time around. I'm waiting for the pace truck to pull off. And we're going to go green flag racing. Jacob Branski is going to lead him down to the green flag in that baby blue machine right there on his outside. I mentioned Zach Rogers, and right behind Branski, you have Heller. Then on the outside of him, you have Manning. So I'm going to be watching these 4 guys up at the front and see when they go and how they go. Pace truck is coming off turn 4, pulls down pit road, and Jacob Branski in the 23 is going to lead him down to the green flag. The green flag is waving out for Jacob Branski, and Christopher Heller is not too far behind.
Massive jump for Jacob Branski on the field. He's going to way clear the entire field by almost 4 or 5 car lengths. That's going to allow Christopher Heller to possibly get the second position, but he's getting challenged around the outside by Zach Rogers. Zach Rogers, good pace in qualifying, and he's going to be looking to carry that into the race as they race side by side down into turn 3. And Elliot Henderson's already up to the 4th position.
Yeah, he had a great run off the corner and made it 3 wide coming off turns 1 and 2. And Elliot Henderson, a.k.a. Mr. Bobby Carter, immediately jumps up into the 4th spot with Jacob Manning right behind him. A great move from Mr. Henderson and looking to hold off Manning now, but Manning's right there. He's going to jump to the high side and try to get that spot back as Heller moves into the 2nd spot.
You already see drivers scattering all over the place on this racetrack. I think the biggest thing they're going to be looking to avoid is that dirty air, and luckily this track allows you at all the different lanes that have pace tonight. But we saw Jacob Manning use the high side to get back underneath Elliott Henderson going down to turn 3 as they race side by side down the front straight. He's going to get a little bit help from Madalinas to try and clear him into 1.
Hunter Madalina's not supporting the monster scheme this week, driving a Denny Hamlin scheme in that 17, looking to get past Henderson and Manning here, but he wasn't able to complete the pass on the inside, and he's going to fall right back behind him, right in front of what looks to be Matt Daniels in the number 4. Oh, there's contact! Matt Daniels, he's going to save it! No, he gets rear-ended by the 12! The 12 of Tyler McClellan runs in the back of him! Matt Daniels had it saved! Oh, man, you hate to see it. Matt Daniels in that Kyle Larson Valvoline machine.
That's about 4 cars involved in that incident there. No, sorry, 3 cars looks like. Lewis Woodall managed to avoid it, and it looks like I don't see any damage on his car. So that's 3 drivers already involved in an incident this early in the race. That's going to really affect them pretty badly. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happened to Matt Daniels, see why he was even in that situation in the first place. I happened to miss it as I was watching the front of the field, but see what happens here. The outside of Nathan Nicholson, he turns down into the corner and just I don't know. He kind of just kept turning. Nicholson was there. Nicholson didn't really choose to run the bottom, and he ends up turning himself across Nicholson's nose. So I'm looking at Nicholson's car currently right now. He doesn't seem to have any significant damage. So luckily for him, he'll be all right. But for Matt Daniels, it's a fortunate incident that's going to really hurt the rest of his day.
I was looking at the incident. It looked like he maybe had made contact with Austin Moore on the inside, and Nicholson did a great job right behind him. You're going to see Nicholson in that 47 does a great job getting on the brakes, and it looked like he might have got a little bit of contact. And then you have Tyler McClellan coming in like Jennifer Joe Cobb, and there goes the 5 spinning around Matt Daniels, and you just hate to see it. We've seen Daniels involved in many incidents, and even in a small field like this, he just not have the luck and gets involved in that incident.
Well, I'm checking on Austin Moore's car. He doesn't seem to have any damage either, so he also seems to have come out of that pretty decent. But for the drivers who did get involved, I mean, that's going to hurt their cars. He's going to create a lot of drag on the front end. It's going to make it a little bit harder to turn because they're not going to have the downforce with pieces crunched up and or missing. So their days is going to be a lot harder to recover from, but maybe with some draft they'll be able to keep up. But as for right now, considering they're already at the back of the field, it might be hard for them to get out of that position.
It's all about recovery now. You're looking at the onboard. Looks like Tyler McClellan and just gets in the back of him right there in the middle of the corner. Just trying to maybe avoid high and maybe got lost in where he was and got into the back of Daniels as Daniels was trying to save it in the number 5 machine. It looked like decent amount of front damage to McClellan after that hit, and Daniels has a good amount of damage as well to his number 5 machine. He's just pulling off pit road. It looks like these guys are setting up to go back green flag racing here. Branski's still in the lead, it looks like, and Heller is in the 2nd spot now.
Heller managed to battle Zach Rogers for that 2nd position, so he'll be lining up side by side with Branski. One thing that's interesting to note is that from last week, Heller just did not have the night he wanted. He really was just not on pace that night and didn't really have the correct strategy. And so he went a lap down and just had a really terrible race. So he's bouncing back really good here at Chicagoland with some good pace, already racing at the front of the field with Branski last week. Borderline dominated the race at the finish.
Here we are about to go green flag racing once again. It's going to be the first restart today after the first caution flag. Jacob Branski is once again going to lead him down, but this time he has Christopher Heller on his high side instead of right behind him. Let's see what happens here. The pace truck is going to pull off, and we're going to go green flag racing once again here at Chicagoland, and it's green flag is waving for Jacob Branski. Gets off to a good restart, and Heller gets off to a decent restart as well. He's looking to clear Zach Rogers going into 1 and 2 with Jacob Manning right behind him.
Jacob Manning's going to be helping out his teammate on that high side, gave him the push and allowed him to pretty easily clear Zach Rogers down in the turns 1 and 2. Christopher Heller's getting a bit of a run down the back straight. I don't think he's going to do anything with it as he stays behind Branski. Get a massive push on the outside from Madalinas to Jacob Branski. Absolutely sent him into turn 3, easily clearing Zach Rogers. Zach Rogers almost getting trained on that bottom lane. I'm surprised to see that. That bottom lane usually is pretty decent here, but I guess with the older tires that have already gone through a heat cycle, that bottom's starting to slow down some.
Yeah, really good restart from a look to be Madalinas and Jacob Manning. Jacob Branski already trying to pull out in front of Heller. Heller's not too far behind him, and there's some good battling going on back here. Henderson looking to get in front of Zach Rogers on the high side, it looks like. With Nathan Nicholson right behind these drivers in that 47 machine, looking to make up some more spots. He's made a good start to this race. He's looking to maybe... No, he's not going to make... I thought he was going to maybe make it 3 wide for a second there, but that is his teammate, so he's going to just push Henderson, try to get him past Zach Rogers.
High lane seems to be the lane at the moment. Everybody seems to be migrating up there if they get the shot. That just seems to be when you're side by side. Looks to be the lane where you're going to get the position on the guy. Zach Rogers really struggling on that bottom. Went all the way from the 3rd position all the way down to the 7th. Oh, I just saw Jacob Manning almost hit the wall out of turn 4. He's going to get cleared by Madalinas, and now it has Elliott battling him into 1.
Yeah, very crazy 3 and 4 for Jacob Manning. It looked like he overdrove the entry and went sliding up towards the wall and almost made contact with it and was able to keep it straight and lost the spot to Madalinas, and now he might lose the spot to Elliott Henderson. Henderson's trying to get into that 4th spot, but he's going to jump in right behind the 1 car for now as he sees Nathan Nicholson putting the pressure on, and all these drivers are keeping up with the 23 of Branski.
Yeah, Branski's not really pulling away. This draft seems to be helping these guys out a ton, and being able to go wherever you want to go in the corners means they're not really sitting in the dirty air as much as you might typically do at most other circuits. The bumps definitely help as well, but it seems like the bumps didn't help out Heller there as Madalinas looked to go inside but slot back in the line. That might be a battle we're going to have to watch out for, because I think Heller's just biding his time, but he has to make sure the guys behind him don't pass him.
A good start for the race for these guys. I feel like it's just really about taking it easy and making sure you have that car at the end, especially with a small field like this, because even if you have a mistake on pit road or something like that, you're only going to go back a couple of positions and you're still going to be in the hunt of things. So I think the key here is just to make sure you're there at the end. But here comes Madalinas. Madalinas showing that he has maybe more speed than Christopher Heller right now, and he's going to pass him on the high side and take away the 2nd spot. Now he's eyeing the lead. Can he take the lead from Branski here in 3 and 4? He's on his quarter panel, it looks like. What a move from Branski, barely getting in front of the 17. And Madalinas is now on his high side, it looks like, heading into 1 and 2 in that Denny Hamlin Toyota.
He's making power moves around that outside. The only thing I'd be worried about is it seems to be typically at this racetrack, the high side seems to burn tires off a little bit more, but while he still has the advantage grip-wise, he's taking full advantage of that outside lane, gaining as much track position as he can, as he's going to possibly clear Branski out of turn 4 and take the lead with Heller following him suit.
You see, I like this move from Madalinas. It might be using up his tires a little bit more, but track position is such a big thing here at Chicagoland. It's somewhat easy to pass early on in the run, but once you get late in that run, it's hard to complete the pass, especially if the guy in front of you is running that high side. Because even if you're faster than him on the low side, it's just almost impossible to complete that pass. You see how fast Branski's beginning to fall now that he's stuck on the bottom lane. He's already back to the 5th spot, Alex.
Yeah, like we saw earlier with Zach Rogers stuck on the bottom. He lost a lot of spots. Now Branski's losing a lot of spots. But something I'm realizing now is that we've got 3 teammates out, 1, 2, 3 in the lead right here. All 2511 racing cars. They can pretty much drive wherever they want and block the entire field with dirty air if they want, because they can all talk to each other to coordinate that. This could be interesting for the rest of the field to try and have to deal with.
And you see Madalinas up there in the lead. Heller's right behind him in 2nd. You have Jacob Manning in the 3rd spot. Elliott Henderson, he's right there in 4th. He's looked real fast here in the beginning portions of this race. He's gotten himself up to the top 5, and then you have Zach Rogers right there in 5th. But he's getting that pressure from Branski still. Branski's still fighting hard on the inside lane.
Yeah, Branski's trying to keep his positions, but it's just so hard to keep position when you're stuck on the bottom like that. You just can't get the entry, you can't get the exit, and you're stuck hitting all those bumps in the bottom lane. You just can't get enough of a run to carry speed through the corner. While in contrast, Elliott, who's not side by side with anybody, is choosing to go to the bottom because that's the only place with clear air. So he's making lap time like that, but other people who are side by side just can't do that.
Won some good racing from Lewis Woodall. Definitely ran 3 and 4 very well. Kept Branski down low. And now he's trying to get past Branski on the high side. And he's going to clear him. It looks like off 1 and 2. Is Branski going to jump in behind him? He will. He'll finally jump up to the high side and jumps right in front of Austin Moore. Austin Moore has to let up a little bit coming down the backstretch to let in Branski. Now Branski's finally going to be able to try to make some ground back up. And he's on the high side of Lewis Woodall now as Woodall tried to dunk underneath the number 4 of Zach Rogers and wasn't able to make the move happen.
Something I'm noticing develop here is it's almost looking like this is a low grip plate race. The top 9 guys are all under a blanket, literally 1 second from 1st to 9th place this far into the run. They're just not losing as much time as I would expect at a racetrack like this. They're all just tucked up on each other's bumpers, running this almost like a plate race.
One driver I've been watching that's doing a little bit of a different strategy. He fell way back of these drivers. He caught him up a little bit in these last few laps here and there, and that's Brandon White. You might see that little speck of a car behind these drivers, and he's on a different strategy. It looks like he looked like at the beginning of this run he was trying to maybe save those tires a little bit. Now he's trying to drive back on this pack. So a different strategy from Brandon White, and it could possibly work for him.
See, Heller on the radio mentioned something. He's down to the 4th position now, so he lost 2 spots. Interested to see what he did that he lost the positions. Check it back on our own replay. Going through turns 1 and 2, he just tried to go to the bottom and lost a lot of time and lost 2 spots from it.
Yeah, like I was saying, once these tires get a little worn out, it's just so hard to make that pass. You're gonna have to. That's why you had Dale Jr. screaming slide job, because it's so much easier to make that pass as a slide job, and that's what makes Chicagoland so exciting, because you can do the slide job here, but it's so hard to really pull off. It's the best time to make those passes at the beginning of these runs.
Oh, we've got a pass at the front. Elliot Henderson making the move on the inside of Manning. I almost thought Manning was going to turn Madalinas with how bad he got into his bumper down the front straightaway. That might give the chance to Elliott to clear him out of turn 2. Yes, he will. Elliot Henderson into the 2nd position.
And that's another way you're going to make a pass right there. You got to be a little bit aggressive. You almost got to drive it like a short track at this point. You got to be a little bit of aggressive with your moves if you want to make those passes. Now Manning is going to try to come back low on the 37 of Henderson. He gets a great run off the corner, the number 1 of Jacob Manning.
I've noticed that bottom lane in 3 and 4 typically is better to run than the bottom of turns 1 and 2. Turns 1 and 2 seem to have more bumps on the bottom. That's where we see Manning making up most of his time, is that bottom 3 and 4. He just runs it really clean, really nice. But he's not going to be able to make the pass as Jacob Branski comes up on his bumper, not going to make the move. And I just noticed Austin Moore went from the 9th position. He's battling for the 4th position now. Where did he come from?
Austin Moore was the only driver out of these 9 drivers that wasn't really battling. He was just kind of waiting back there. So maybe he's hitting into high gear at this point, the number 91 machine. Austin Moore, a very smart and talented race car driver. Like I said, he was kind of taking it easy for the big part of this run. Wasn't battling with a lot of these drivers, just kind of hanging out.
Oh, pass for the lead. Got Elliot Henderson going to the inside of Madalinas into turn 3. They're side by side through the center of the corner. Is Elliot going to be able to clear him or not? No, he will not. Coming off turn 4. Going to get the side draft. He just couldn't make the move. Now it's possible he may fall back to the 3rd position, his best case scenario, with him getting trained around the outside.
Yeah, you were mentioning it, Alex. 3 and 4, the inside's a little bit better. And Henderson wasn't quite able to complete the pass in 3 and 4. And you see how difficult it was for him on the inside of 1 and 2. He wanted to get up to the high side as quick as possible. He jumps in right in front of Jacob Manning. And now he's going to maybe try to make another run at it within the next few laps.
I'm surprised Manning just wasn't able to carry the speed through the center of the corner, left a gap enough for Elliott to slot back in line. But here comes Branski to the outside of Manning. Manning got a little bit loose coming off turn 4. I've noticed that a couple times. Manning's been getting pretty loose coming out of that corner, and Branski took full advantage, stuck to his outside of turn 2. He's gonna clear him. Oh, Manning lost a ton of time out of turn 2.
Yeah, got really loose. That car just got a little bit loose in the number 1 machine and held up the drivers behind him. But they're going to keep up with the draft for now. And you see Henderson once again trying that move under Madalinas. And I guess he's trying this move right now because he has no one. They have no one right behind him. So Madalinas has no draft help. He can fall in right behind him. And here comes Branski quick. Henderson's going to have to maybe pull a slide job here. if he wants to complete this pass.
Oh, he's just not going to be able to do it. Elliott does have a slight advantage, though. The driver behind him is his teammate, and Jacob Branski. It's likely that he is going to help him as I see him go low towards into turn 3 to go behind Elliott. It looks like he's going to try and give him the bump draft down the straightaway if possible to try and help him get the lead.
Henderson just wasn't quite close enough that time through 3 and 4, but Branski gives him a huge push down the front stretch, and Henderson looks like he might clear him. Going into 1 and 2, he's clear of him, but is he going to leave Branski down low? It looks like Branski's going to jump in behind Madalinas, and they're going to make a little sandwich.
Oh, Madalinas in the wall! Oh, Manning's around!
Oh, man! Yeah, Madalinas looked like he got up into the wall, trying to race Elliott Henderson, and just contact between himself and Jacob Manning. Jacob Manning spins to the inside. Wow.
And that was a crazy moment right there. Heard Madalinas key up immediately on the radio saying he just got tight, and that is what it looked like from our perspective. He just kind of came off the corner and couldn't keep it out of the wall. It just seemed to want to drive straight up into the wall. And when he got caught into it, it just created this massive accordion down the back straight. And the worse for wear driver out of that was Jacob Manning.
I'm going to try to get you a replay on the incident that had just happened between Jacob Manning and Hunter Madalinas. Elliott Henderson is currently your race leader, but just taking that initial look at it when I saw it live, here we go. We're going to get a look at it. So this will be a little better. But Madalinas gets up into the wall right there, and they were just too close. Branski and Manning were just too close. Great job by Branski, by the way. Branski did a phenomenal job saving the car, but he does have a good amount of bumper damage from Jacob Manning. But the 23 and the number 1 were just too close to Madalinas coming off the corner. And right when Madalinas got into the wall, there was just nowhere for them to go. And like you said, just an accordion effect off the corner.
We're going to be looking on board with Nathan Nicholson, who was just behind these guys, right at the very back of the line. We see him just kind of get caught up in this accordion and take a little bit of damage, but he managed to just avoid Jacob Manning going around in front of him.
Great job. That could have been a lot worse than it was. Manning doesn't look like he has too much damage, but definitely scorched those tires on that spin out. Branski has some bumper damage. Trying to look to see if Nathan Nicholson really got anything from that. You're going to take another look at it. Yeah, Madalinas just got too tight racing Henderson and got up into the wall, and Manning's the one that paid the price, spun it around to the inside. But like I said, Manning doesn't really have too much damage, if at all. He looks pretty fine in the number 1 machine after that spin out.
Yeah, comparatively to some of these other cars. These drivers got pretty lucky, though. The timing of this caution, about 30 laps into the race, these drivers have about 3 sets of tires, so this isn't too terrible of a place to end up needing to pit. And because of the caution, a lot of these guys are going to be able to fix their damage, and considering how much of a pack race we seem to have, I don't think it's too much of a loss to stay down pit road and lose some track position. But because of that incident, there's really only 4 cars on track right now that don't have damage. Lewis Woodall, who I'm not sure if he took 2 tires or stayed out, but he's leading the field right now. Elliott Henderson behind Christopher Heller, and then right behind them is Zach Rogers. Those are really the only 4 cars with no damage on them right now.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at these other vehicles. When that chain reaction happened, Austin Moore got a lot of damage on his nose. Nathan Nicholson has some damage as well. I wouldn't say his is as bad as Austin Moore's, though. But everyone here really has a little bit of damage. Branski has a little bit of bumper damage. It looks like Jacob Manning has very tiny bumper damage as well. So everyone, like you said, everyone has a good amount of damage so far, and this is a track where any bit of damage is gonna affect you. And we saw that on that last run. Drivers like Matt Dangles and Tyler McClellan with their damage immediately fell back of the pack.
And even Brandon White, who you mentioned was saving tire, he had a little bit of right front damage, just a tiny little bit, and he couldn't keep up with the pack at all. Fell back about 3 seconds by the end of that run. Is checking live right now. Lewis Woodall, who was leading, is coming down pit road, so he's gonna get his lap led for an extra point, and he's gonna come down pit road, so that'll put Elliott Henderson back out front. But this incident is going to help a lot of these guys who managed to avoid it. I mean, somebody like Lewis Woodall, who every now and then has a really good run, every now and then ends up in an incident, but he managed to avoid the incidents today. He doesn't need to save a race car because he didn't get into anything. So he's got a clean race car and probably will have the pace over most of the guys in this field.
Yeah, I'm watching Lewis. Lewis didn't take any tires, it looked like, on his initial stop. And then when he just went in again, once again, it looked like he didn't take tires. It looked like he just got gas. So I think a little bit of strategy possibly from Lewis, maybe hoping on some cautions or something. I'm not exactly sure what the strategy is there.
Well, I mentioned before, these drivers only have 3 sets of tires. So if this goes green, yeah, that's going to suck for him because he's really not going to have any great pace on these tires. He's not really going to be able to keep up, and coming to green flag pit stops, he's probably going to be way behind the lead pack. But if we get another caution and say the next 10 to 15 laps, he's going to be in the golden spot because these other drivers are just not going to want really fresh tires right behind him.
Pace truck is going to pull off, and we're going to go green flag racing once again here at Chicagoland, and Elliott Henderson leads into the green. Green flag is out, but everyone took a while to get going right there. That was a really slow restart from these drivers, but they're going. They're going now. Elliott Henderson leading the field. Zach Rogers right behind him with Jacob Branski right behind him. This is the closest restart in recent memory for Great Lakes.
Yep, Heller just did not get a good start on that outside. He's battling now to just stay in the 4th position. He really just had a terrible restart. But at the front of the field, Zach Rogers inside of Elliott Henderson. Oh, wow, I just saw that power move from Christopher Heller around the outside of Branski. He's got to run down the front straight. We'll see if he takes it anywhere on these 2 leaders, but he might not have anywhere to go. But man, he had a terrible start, but he brought it right back. Now he's outside of Elliott coming out of turn 2. They're almost 3 wide for the lead, but he managed to back out of it.
Branski on the inside. This is some phenomenal racing here on this restart. Jacob Branski almost makes it 3 wide, heading into turns 3 and 4. Here comes Brandon White. Brandon White in the 86. He's up to 4th. Where did he come from?
He almost lost it, though. He got really loose out of turn 4, almost got rear-ended by Austin Moore. Luckily managed to save it, but the damage on Branski doesn't seem to be affecting him too much. He's got really good pace right now. He's running with these 2 leaders with brand new race cars. So I think that wreck didn't affect him as badly as I would have expected.
Still very early on in this run, so we'll have to see how that car handles on the end of the run. But he does have, like I said, he does very slight bumper damage. I don't know how badly, if at all, that would even affect him. And he's so far looking pretty good in that 3rd spot. Jacob Branski. Right behind him, you have Zach Rogers. And then you have a good battle for the 5th spot. Jacob Manning. He was just spun around, and he's trying to get back up here into the top 5.
Jacob Manning, he got looped around. I mean, you noted before he didn't seem to have terrible damage considering he was the one that ended up bringing out the caution with his spin, but the damage on his car isn't too bad, and he's passing guys like Austin Moore, Nicholson, Madalinas, who were all behind him and ended up getting extra damage from that wreck more so than he did. So the pace in his car is there. He doesn't seem to be as badly as affected as these other guys.
There's some great racing. We have 3 wide. Looked like it'd be off the turn. Brandon White all the way up high. Jacob Williams in the middle. Jacob Williams is now going to fall in. Not Jacob Williams. Jacob Manning is going to fall in behind Brandon White. And then Austin Moore right there on his inside. But here comes the number 17 of Madalinas, who got into the wall on that, which was the main cause of that last caution. Hunter Madalinas, he's trying to get himself back up here as well in that number 17 machine. He's all the way up high.
Oh, they were 3 wide for the 3rd position. They might be coming out of turn 2. Brandon White sent it low. Zach Rogers sent it high. Managed to sort it out coming off turn 2. But Brandon White had a massive run out of turn 4. But now he's going to pay for it as he's losing multiple positions on the bottom.
This is some hard racing here for the 4th spot, it looks like now. Branski has the 3rd spot. But Zach Rogers, Brandon White, Jacob Manning, Austin Moore, and Hunter Madalinas are all battling it out for that next spot. It looks like Zach Rogers has a great run coming into turns 1 and 2, and he's up there with Branski now as well. And Manning, Brandon White continue to go at it for that 5th spot.
I noticed further back, Madalinas almost looped it down the front straightaway. I think he nicked the apron a little bit, got real loose going towards turn 1. He managed to save it though, so no wreck there. He's going to retain his position. And Brandon White, who was about to try and battle for the 3rd position, is now fallen all the way down to the 6th spot. That really was a punishing move for him.
Brandon White trying to recover now, but he's still trying to battle on that inside of Austin Moore. And here comes Hunter Madalinas and Nathan Nicholson right there behind him as well. I think we're now beginning to see the difference in these cars when it comes to the damage, because they're beginning to separate a little bit here, Alex.
Yeah, well, the one person with damage that's still keeping up is Branski, sitting there in that 3rd position, though Zach Rogers getting a big run behind him. He might try and go to the bottom. Nope, he's just going to slot in behind him. But Branski's holding his own there in the 3rd spot with the draft. Oh, I almost noticed an incident. Madalinas and Austin Moore. Madalinas got really tight in the center of the corner. He's going to get pushed by Brandon White down the back straight, but we almost saw it spin in turn 1 and 2.
Hunter Madalinas racing real hard to try to get back up to the front. And the number 17 machine has Brandon White right behind him and Nathan Nicholson in the number 47. Hunter Madalinas currently running in the 7th spot in that FedEx Toyota right behind Austin Moore. But he continues to get that pressure from Brandon White. And you're looking at the leaders. Henderson, he's all over. Oh, look, he got on the wall almost right there, the 37. And here comes Jacob Branski on his inside.
Crucial mistake for Elliott. He's going to lose that position, just lose some more track position. Though I say that, he gets a massive run around the outside. He's going to be the outside of Branski out of turn 4. I thought the spot was gone and done with, but he fought back right in the next corner. Who needs momentum when you just have pace?
A lot of pace out of that 37 machine. Whoa, Branski comes right up in front of Rogers, and that was very close. That was almost an accident. Manning reacts and jumps to the inside of Zach Rogers.
Yeah, both Branski and Rogers almost got in the wall there. Both of them just narrowly managed to stay off of it, and Manning has taken full advantage. But again, that bottom lane just doesn't seem to have as much pace. If you can't get side by side and clear the guy coming out of the corner, you just can't seem to get the position. You just lose a bunch of time.
That inside lane is just continuing to become more and more difficult as the run goes on. That battle continues back there for the 5th spot. These 4 drivers up front are trying to separate themselves. You have Christopher Heller, Elliott Henderson, Jacob Branski, and Zach Rogers up here.
Now, Austin Moore made a pretty clean pass on Jacob Manning. With all the damage he has, I'm surprised he has the pace. But, I mean, he had really good pace at the end of the last run, and he just passed Manning for the 5th position. He wants to try and catch up to this front pack a little bit. Oh, maybe Austin Moore is just good enough on tires that even with the damage, he's not losing as much pace as side by side for the lead almost with Elliott inside of Christopher Heller. He's got the move side by side down the front straight and out of turn 4. Branski's going to want to go with his teammate.
Henderson got a big push down the backstretch from Branski and had a huge run going into 3 and 4 and dived it down low. And he might be able to clear Heller coming out of 1 and 2, but not quite. He tried to slide up in front of him, but wasn't quite clear. Oh, Rogers almost getting into the wall right behind him. This is some great racing here for the top 4. And here comes Austin Moore into the picture.
The side-by-side racing makes it really easy for guys behind to catch up. It just becomes a big wall, a big hole, I mean, of air just going right through it. Just massive draft when these guys go side by side, slowing each other down, and Austin Moore's caught up to the pack because of that. He's going to try and make the move around the outside. Is he going to be 3 wide out of turn 2? Oh, slight contact between Branski and Zach Rogers, just narrowly avoiding an incident. That's going to cost Branski a lot of time.
Oh, and that's heavy racing for the lead. Henderson up into the door. Great save from the 37. These two are racing hard for the race lead. They've been racing hard the last couple of laps. Henderson's been right there at the door of Heller every lap for the last 3 laps. And now Zach Rogers and Austin Moore right there. The whole pack is kind of gathered up here because of this battle for the race lead. Henderson can't quite clear Christopher Heller. Christopher Heller's fighting hard on the high side. Last season's champion has yet to get a win this season. I know he wants a win now.
And he really needs it too, because, I mean, he's sitting, I believe, in the 4th position in the point standing. So he's behind quite a few guys. He's going to gain a lot on Nicholson, who's had his problems today. But, I mean, he wants to beat somebody like Elliott, who's leading the points, and Branski, who's sitting there in the 2nd position. And he's showing it tonight. He's got good pace, and Even though he's being challenged, he's holding this position pretty well as he gets a
Whoa!
massive run contact. Elliot Henderson narrowly saves it out of turn 2, but he's going to lose 4, maybe even 5 spots already.
I definitely saw some frustration coming out of turn 2 from Elliot Henderson. Almost was clear of Heller, just wasn't quite able to. He's just trying to get in front of him, but the space is just not there for the 37, and he lost a lot of spots because of that. He's back to the 5th spot, but a great job avoiding an accident. Henderson got pretty loose off the corner trying to keep it off Christopher Heller. You're going to see a replay right here. It looks like Henderson dives down low, and he's trying to clear him. He's beginning to come up the track, and he's so close to clearing him, and just not quite able to. It almost gets Heller up into the wall. Looks like they might have actually made slight contact off the corner, and Henderson saves it to the inside.
Yeah, Elliot, I mean, that's just the product of this racing. Elliot has to make a move like that, otherwise he's going to get trained around the outside. He held him off for a pretty good amount of time, but that was definitely eating up the tires, and he knew it. He tried to make the pass as soon as he could, but just wasn't able to do it as they made contact on the back straight. He slid up in front of Madalinas, got into the wall a little bit. That's going to put Madalinas in the wall and lose him a bunch of spots. That was lucky for drivers to not see another incident like we saw earlier.
That was slide job city right there, Alex. Henderson saw the spot in front of Madalinas and jumped into it, and no one was ready for that, and that almost caused another massive incident here at Chicagoland. But they continue on. They all stay together, too, so the battle marches on for another day. Elliot Henderson right there in front of Jacob Branski right there in the 5th spot. These are only, what, 8 drivers battling for this right now? This is very exciting for only 8 drivers or 9 drivers battling it out this hard.
Yeah, I just went to go look at Elliot's car. He does have some damage now from the incidents he got in between Heller and then also getting into the wall just there. So he's got a slight bit of damage now. Now he's equaled out a little bit to some of the guys around him. Now there's only, I think, 2 or 3 cars with no damage right now. That's the 2 leaders out there right now, and then Lewis Woodall with his crazy strategy, but he's lost a lot of time not taking tires on the last stop.
Lewis Woodall's just buying on a caution right now, and if he gets these cautions that he wants and everybody takes tires at the right times and everything goes the way he wants, he's going to be sitting in a prime position to win this race. Lewis Woodall knew he didn't quite have the speed, and he wasn't quite trusting the racing style of this race as well. Wanted to keep his car out of trouble, and that's a good way of doing it. And I've always said, if you want to win the race and you're not necessarily the fastest car, you have to go with the opposite of everybody else. You have to get on a completely different strategy. What do you got to lose? And that's what Lewis Woodall is doing. He's trying to win the race by going on a completely different strategy.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even think he had a bad strategy either. I mean, with how these guys have been racing, I'm surprised we have not seen a caution. There's been some crazy saves to just avoid wrecking already, and we're only 20, 25 laps into this run almost. So these drivers are racing like crazy despite so little time on these tires.
And they continue to race hard for what looks like to be the 4th spot right now. Austin Moore got a bad run off the corner. It looks like he had to slow down, get out of the gas coming out of 1 and 2. And Henderson looks like he might clear him in 3 and 4, and he will, and jump up in front of him. Another slide job from the 37. Great slide jobs from Henderson. He seems to be the king of these slide jobs today. Gets up onto the high side of Jacob Manning with a big push from Austin Moore coming through the front stretch. And Elliot Henderson's going to try to get himself back into the 3rd spot and put that pressure on Zach Rogers possibly.
And you saw him a little bit, get a little bit squirrely with that hit to the rear bumper. I mean, you got to think about this. They're racing almost like it's a plate race. They're all packed up on each other, and bumping the guy, or at least just giving him a push with some air down the straightaways, is such a massive time gain. But the difference between here and a plate race is, well, here you're out of the throttle, and here you need the car to turn. There at the plate races, the car just turns on its own full throttle. So these guys don't have the same rear end securities we do at those kind of tracks. So we're going to have to be watching out and see if any pushing gets a little bit too out of hand.
Yeah, this racing has definitely been something to talk about. They're still battling hard here, but Heller's having fun. He's just hanging out up front right now, Mr. Christopher Heller, but he might get some pressure here from Zach Rogers here in a moment, as Rogers been peeking to that high side.
I thought he might have been side by side with him in a 1 with the big push he got from Austin Moore, but Heller's just narrowly going to be able to clear in front of him. But I'm noticing Elliot Henderson stuck at the bottom again, his nemesis. He keeps taking the bottom to make these moves, but when he's getting trained like that, he can't really go anywhere as Austin Moore tries to go for the second position now.
And I saw it in his car. He was going to try to go for that slide job in 3 and 4 because he saw the gap between Heller and Zach Rogers, and immediately when he dove down low, that gap disappeared. And now he's going to begin to fall back. He's going to fall back with Elliot Henderson. And now you have Branski and Manning in the 3rd spot. And it'll be 3 wide coming off of 1 and 2. Austin Moore on the very bottom. Great racing off turns 1 and 2, and they're going to keep it straight for now. And Austin Moore looks like he's going to fall in behind Jacob Manning in the number 1. Oh, you know, he's going to send it in. He's going to try to keep it 3 wide, it looks like, into 3 and 4. Austin Moore all the way on the bottom.
3 wide bottom's not the place you want to be, as Hunter Madalena is going to take full advantage and jump his way up to the 4th position. He just gained 2 free positions right there.
Hunter Madalenas, he's back up here in the top 5 in the 4th spot. Hunter Madalena's trying to get it back up into the lead. You all remember on that caution, he got up into the wall and it caused a big incident between Jacob Manning and a couple other drivers. Let's see what he can do now. Hunter Madalenas, as he's returned up here to the front. Christopher Heller still leads the field with Zach Rogers and Jacob Branski right behind him.
I'm waiting to see when somebody makes a move on Heller. Heller, especially down out of turn 4, sometimes he's been taking the apron, and that can make him vulnerable if guys start to tag team in a line on the high side. He could just end up getting caught out on the bottom. So I'm waiting to see where this move comes from, because I don't think Heller will be able to hold these guys off with how tight this racing is.
Yeah, this racing has been so tight, and you have to wonder about the tire wear as well. You have to wonder how much tires these drivers are using, because we haven't gone to the full length of a run yet. So I'm interested to see how these cars react at the end of the run, and we might get some separation here soon if they keep on racing like this and keep it green. As here comes Nathan Nicholson now in the 47, trying to get into the top 5.
Hey, you mentioned a full run. I'm actually curious as to when these guys are going to pit, because in this big draft like this, you're not burning nearly as much fuel. Probably the person that's going to have to pit first would be Heller, as he's been out front of this field almost the entire race in the throttle the most of anybody. So he'll probably be one of the first we see come down pit road if they run out their fuel. But for these other guys, I have no idea when some of them are going to pit, just because how much jostling there's been.
Not 100% sure on this fuel window. I asked around, and a lot of drivers seemed unsure as well, but it sounds like the fuel window could be around 60 laps possibly, maybe a little more, maybe a little less.
Well, if that is true, then we're only halfway through a run, and these drivers who are just begging to get on some new tires, because some of them have getting really loose and their car's been getting out of control, are not going to be getting those tires for a long while, that's for certain.
Jacob Manning trying to get to the high side of Henderson, sees enough room for one car and tried to get it in there, but wasn't quite able to fit. Nicholson's right behind him, and these 6 drivers are going to stay single file for now, all the way up against the wall. Like I said, these tires are beginning to fall off a little bit now, so we're going to see these drivers calm down a little bit and maybe even separate, and we're going to see which drivers saved their tires the best during that run if we're able to keep it green.
Well, these drivers are starting to single file out in the line, but the one person I was watching is just got into Manning. Oh! Big contact. That puts Austin Moore in the wall. I thought Manning was about to get turned by Nicholson, who they just somehow avoided it, but the person who got bit out there was Austin Moore, who just was to their outside and got into the wall.
Austin Moore was racing really hard, got to the high side of these drivers, and like you mentioned, it looked like there might have been a little bit of contact between Manning and Nicholson, and then when these drivers reacted, put Austin Moore into the wall. We're going to try to get you a replay on that. Very heavy contact for Austin Moore, who's been through it today. Here you see a little contact right there and just throws Austin Moore straight into the outside wall coming out of turn 2.
I was literally just about to mention Nicholson as well, is because he wasn't battling with the rest of these guys for most of this run. He just sat there in the back of the pack biding his time. I thought maybe he had better tire, and right there he showed he had better speed in the center of the corner. Just didn't give Manning the space that he needed and ended up making contact, and then ended up hitting Austin Moore into the wall when he did.
Austin Moore took a pretty heavy hit in that number 91 machine, and Nicholson and Manning continue to battle awfully hard. these two are very close to getting into a serious accident. That was another very close call coming off turns 1 and 2. Very close racing between these two drivers.
Seems as though Nicholson's just running him too tight on the outside lane. I think if he gets close enough to him, he should just take it to the bottom. The gap between him and Elliott has been pretty big, and I think if he just dives it to the bottom and slides up in front of him, he should be able to pass him, as I do believe he might have better tire than a lot of the guys in front of him.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that.
Oh, there was contact at the front a little bit. Branski got into the back of Zach Rogers. Now he's shot to the bottom, and Elliott's around the outside of Branski.
Now Branski's going to have to try to maybe get back in front of Henderson. Will Henderson maybe let him back up there? Henderson's going to actually push him. Henderson's going to push Branski to the bottom, and this is the first time we've seen this in a few laps. Jacob Branski going to try to get past Zach Rogers on the inside with help from his teammate, Elliott Henderson, and Branski's going to immediately jump up right in front of Zach Rogers, but Henderson is now stuck on the bottom all by himself, and he's going to lose some spots.
Those two, pretty much the entire night, anytime I've seen them linked up, they've pretty much been shooting the front driver past another driver and gaining themselves positions for the team. So they've been working together excellently to use this bump drafting down the straightaways to get some positions, but that heavily cost Elliott, as now he's going to go all the way to the back of this pack.
See two drivers on pit road. It looks like we have Austin Moore on pit road. It looks like Matt Daniels. So if these are scheduled stops when it comes to the fuel window, the drivers that told me the fuel window were a little off on that. Say off by around maybe 10 or 15 laps, but it's okay. Christopher Heller leading the field, and we might get some strategy here soon. Some pit stops possibly coming into play. Christopher Heller leading the field, Branski right behind him. Zach Rogers has been hanging out in the top 3 or 4 most of this race, having a very good race there. And then you have Jacob Manning in fourth.
Oh, in the back!
There goes Madalinas.
Almost getting turned. Nicholson gets into his left rear quarter and spins out Madalinas coming out of turn 2.
Wow, and look like to me there was some contact right there, and just Madalinas couldn't quite save it, and Nicholson wasn't going to let up either. You hate to see it for Madalinas. Hunter Madalinas just recovering from that incident earlier, now has this happen in the number 17 Denny Hamlin machine, and we're going to try to get your replay on the incident. But from what I saw live, it looked like Nicholson might have gotten into his bumper right there, sent him sideways. Madalinas saves it. Nicholson gets him again, and then just kind of runs through him. I hate to say it like that, but just kind of runs through him after that.
Well, let's be objective here. From pretty much any perspective I could think of, it looks like he just kind of drove through him, kind of got annoyed, and just seemed to drive through him even after Madalinas managed to save it. I think he just got a little bit too frustrated trying to pass people, and then decided to drive through Madalinas. Unfortunate for Madalinas, and just poor decision making from Nicholson's end.
You hate to see it for someone like Hunter Madalinas, and Hunter Madalinas just looked a little upset after the incident, kind of just let the car hit the wall at that point, probably a little frustrated after that incident and getting into the wall earlier. Now we're going to see some pit stops from some of our leaders, and we're going to see who takes the lead as we go into our side-by-side, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, to Foyt and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Hello and welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway for the Roundabout Gaming 200 here at Chicagoland Speedway for the Great Lakes Cup Series presented by ButtKicker. And the race leader coming out of pit road, it looked like to be Jacob Branski. It looks like Heller fell back to the 4th spot on that sequence of pit stops in the number 11 machine. So we're going to be seeing how that changes up on this next restart. I don't think they're going to be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel from here, from what I can tell from that last run. So they're going to have to pit, I'm thinking, one more time. Question is, when do they make that pit stop?
I would honestly try and run it out as far as we can. We've seen incidents happen tonight, a lot of really tight and almost dangerous racing between these guys. That's just the kind of package we've got right now, and there's a very high likelihood we end up seeing another caution if this is the kind of racing we're seeing, because it is just so tight. There's just no room for error with these guys.
No room for error indeed. We've definitely seen some close calls and a lot of craziness so far at Chicagoland. This setup and this racing these drivers have provided, it kind of, like you've said, Alex, many times, it just seems like a super speedway here today at Chicagoland Speedway. A lot of these drivers using that draft. Draft is key, and track position seems to be key as well, as it's been just hard to really make that pass for the race lead unless someone makes a mistake.
Yeah, we saw mistakes happen on that caused that last caution. Just, mistakes from Nicholson getting into Madalinas and the two drivers just getting together. They're going to line up back bumper to bumper with each other. Let's hope that doesn't develop in anything bad, but Branski is going to lead the field here to green.
Pace truck is coming off of 3 and 4, and Jacob Branski, aka the dog, is going to lead him down to the green flag. Green flag is once again waving here at Chicagoland Speedway, and Zach Rogers is right behind him, manning a little bit of sleep on that restart, and Heller is going to push him down the front stretch, going into 1 and 2, and here comes Elliott Henderson on the inside of him, and Rogers is going to jump up in front of Manning. Good move from Rogers.
Rogers with a pretty clean start there from the bottom lane. He's going to clear Manning as they're going to be racing side by side for that 3rd position. Elliott Henderson wants it. It's going to be hard for him, though. There's going to be a train around the outside with Christopher Heller. Christopher Heller might want to go around Manning. He's not going to be able to do it, so he's probably just going to push his teammate down the front straight. That's going to leave Elliott stranded on the bottom as Madalena stumps Nicholson. Payback, and it's going to involve 2 other drivers. Oh, no.
Oh, man. And craziness has just happened here at Chicagoland. And that kind of looked like, remember when Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards got into it at Atlanta and Brad went flipping? That's what that looked like to me. And it looked exactly like that. You even had a flip from Brandon White at the end of that accident, so I guess it works. Wow.
I'm surprised at the rearward momentum from Nicholson that ended up flipping over Brandon White. I'm amazed that there was enough force behind that to flip him over, but that's going to end Nicholson's night, probably going to end the night of Brandon White as well with his massive amounts of damage. That's we don't like to see that here on iRacing. These drivers acting a little bit uncouth, and Madalina's paying back Nicholson and involving 2 other drivers in that incident.
You just have to feel for Woodall and Brandon White. Brandon White and Woodall are the 2 drivers that have really been trying different things than a lot of these other guys been doing today, and they've shown speed at points in this race, especially Lewis Woodall. So you definitely have to feel bad for them getting caught up in the incidents between Nicholson and Madalinas.
Well, Lewis Woodall has retired from the race tonight, so he is most definitely out of the race. Nicholson is still stuck on the pit lane. His night's probably done, and Brandon White with a massive front end damage is likely not going to have any pace if he continues to run.
Man, just especially with the low car count like it is for this race, you just really hate to see it, because now you only have a couple of guys that are even competitive at this point. It just, it looks like he just gets to his inside, and yeah, we'll just say yeah, that's what happened. Definitely some drama here in the Great Lakes series here tonight, Alex.
Yeah, I suppose we should make this clear for our viewers here tonight. We do not promote that kind of racing. Actually, as a matter of fact, I condone it to the highest degree. Please do not intentionally wreck, and even if it happens to you, don't pay him back because it doesn't look good on you either. So between those two drivers, a little bit of shame. Do not behave like that, please.
Definitely hate to see it here, especially at a track like Chicagoland. Chicagoland, a track that promotes such phenomenal racing, and right now we only have 4 or 5 drivers on the track that are competitive, a little bit past halfway in this thing. So this race is gonna be between. I'm thinking we got Branski here, we have Zach Rogers, we got Jacob Manning, Elliot Henderson, and Christopher Heller. Those are like the only guys I really see with the chance at this point to get the job done. I guess you have Austin Moore back there as well, who has slight damage.
Yeah, there's only really a couple drivers left now. I mean, Zach Rogers and Christopher Heller are the only two left with no damage after Lewis Woodall got knocked out of this race. And other drivers with some decent pace still are Branski, Elliott, and Manning, but the rest of the drivers in this field just have so much damage to their cars that they really don't have the pace. So it's really going to be between those 5 drivers for the win of this race, I believe.
We're gonna go green flag racing. Once again, just over 50 laps to go here at Chicagoland Speedway. Jacob Branski has decided on the high side he'll have his teammate Elliot Henderson right behind, and then on the inside you have Zach Rogers and Jacob Manning. So this should be a pretty interesting restart. You have Madalenas back there in that 6th spot. And look at Matt Daniels. Matt Daniels has kept it out there, just trying to get as many points as he can with that damage number 5. And the pace truck's going to pull off turn 4, and we're going to do green flag racing once again, as Branski is going to lead him down to the green flag. Gets a huge push from Henderson on the start. Henderson's all over his bumper as the Discord channel lit up.
Yeah, I believe that must have been a little bit of team coordination. Both of them easily clearing Zach Rogers on the bottom. Doesn't help either. Zach Rogers seemed to not really get a great start on that bottom. He was laying back a little bit and just lost out on the jump, and they're going to be 4 car lengths ahead of him going into turn 3. Great start from these split-second esports drivers.
And a great start from these two, and they've kind of gapped the field a little bit. You have Zach Rogers right there in that 3rd spot. Hunter Madalenas has moved himself into 4th. You have Jacob Manning in the 5th spot, and Heller's fallen back to the 6th spot. Christopher Heller back there in that pink 2511 machine. I assume bringing on the fuchsia color there for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm assuming, in that number 11 machine. It looks awfully nice, and Heller's been running well tonight, running in that 6th spot right now, looking to get himself back up in the front as he's led a good amount of the laps here tonight.
And it's a very clean looking car there indeed, but he wants to try and put that car towards the front of the field again as he is trapped down here. He's going to look for the position of Hunter Madalenas. I believe he is going to get it. Those drivers working together in their team chat, and he's going to be inside of Jacob Manning as well. I have reason to believe he will let him by going down into turn 3, because Christopher Heller really, of these drivers, is probably got one of the best cars in the field besides him and Zach Rogers, but as of right now, they're behind 2 drivers with a little bit of damage.
Yeah, very early on in this run still, too, so got to keep that in mind. We weren't able to run that full run last time like we were hoping to see. We'll see this time possibly. With less cars, increases the chances to get that full run. We'll see if that damage affects some of these guys later on in the run, but at the beginning portion of this run, I don't expect the damage on these race cars to really affect them at all. Jacob Branski has a little bit of damage. I don't expect it to affect them at all. Henderson and Madalenas and Manning as well. Madalenas tagging on to the very end of this group of 6 drivers here, battling it out. Austin Moore has fallen pretty far back, and Matt Daniels as well.
Well, it's going to get tight here off turn 2. Manning just barely slots in front of Zach Rogers after a big push down the front straightaway from his teammate Heller. He's going to slot his way into the 3rd position. Now it's going to be Heller and Zach Rogers side by side coming out of turn 4, but I have reason to believe, yep, Madalenas will go with his teammate to try and push him around Zach Rogers. Zach Rogers is going to fall to the back of this pack.
Zach Rogers is going to fall to the back of the pack right there on the high side. Madalenas is going to try to jump in front of him. I don't know if there's not space there right now. And Rogers is going to stay to his high side. And now Heller is trying to peek to the inside to help Madalinas with a little bit of draft, but he knows that high side's the stronger lane and moves back up there in front of Rogers as they go into 3 and 4, and he's trying to get up to Manning as those two battle behind him continuously.
Zach Rogers really just has no help. He's not really with a team as far as I'm aware. I don't see him in any of the chat channels, so he's working entirely on his own tonight, and with 5 other drivers around him that are all a part of a team and have a teammate around him, he's gonna have a lot harder of a time to run with these guys because he's gonna get pretty much no help.
Yeah, these drivers continue to battle right here in the back. Rogers and Madalena, so there's a battle for second as well between Manning and Elliott Henderson. Manning wants the spot. He wants to get up there in front of Henderson. He looks to clear him going into 1 and 2. He's going to dive it in there, and he will. Manning will clear Henderson and break up the split second guys, and now he's going to try to get up there to Branski.
The only thing that's going to be difficult to do, though, is because Elliott's behind him now, even if he catches up to Branski, will he even be able to make the pass? Because Elliott's just not going to help him at all costs to try and help out his teammate. Now, in contrast, you do have Heller right behind them as well, and he could probably go with Manning. It's just a matter of will he have enough pace to even catch up with them, as Elliott dives under him and gets a great run out of turn 2. They're going to be dead even into turn 3.
Another thing to note here, you're seeing it on your screen. The screen's getting a little darker. It's getting a little darker here at Chicagoland, which is cooling down the racetrack. So it's going to change up the grip levels for some of these drivers. Some of these drivers that are maybe not like the handling of their car earlier might like it a little better now as we get later into this race and later in the day when it comes to iRacing at Chicagoland.
Yeah, these drivers are just going to get a ton of grip and are going to be going way faster than they were earlier in the race. It's going to be a lot easier to deal with that dirty air. As I've been noticing pretty much most of this run is that Branski's been stuck on the bottom, and even when drivers end up behind him, they don't seem to be losing much in the corners. Same thing when other drivers are running the high side. They're just not losing that much in the corners.
Not losing that much in the corner. Really, the straightaways have been the big key here today. The draft is just such a big part of this race, a lot bigger part of this race than I actually expected it to be. And you're seeing it right here. Branski's just outside of that draft right now, I'd say. Just right there at the very, very edge of the draft when it comes to the number 1 of Jacob Manning. Jacob Manning just not quite able to reel him in. He has these 2 drivers behind him who are kind of pulling him back a little bit in a way.
Well, the thing is right there is Branski ran the slowest to the top 4. So, I mean, while he is out front, he has the clean air. It just doesn't seem to be as much as an advantage as it is at most other racetracks. It seems to be here tonight. The draft down the straightaway and the time you lose in the corners just seems to be wildly different. It's allowing guys behind the leader to catch up no matter where they are.
Battle continues for this 3rd spot between Heller and Henderson. They continue to battle it out for that 3rd spot. Henderson on the inside. Heller trying to complete the pass on the high side. And Henderson's going to send it in there and slide right in front of Heller. Heller got nowhere to go.
Man, it has been so much fun watching Elliott Henderson tonight make these passes. He's really the only one that's been pulling off these really slick slide jobs on everybody tonight. He's been really good at making passes, but sometimes it bites him, as when he goes to the bottom, sometimes he gets trained around the outside if he can't complete that pass. So with the field thinning out, I think it's just going to make Elliott stronger, as there's going to be less cars running around his outside, keeping him off that high lane in the entry.
Well, that last time by out of the top 3, Henderson was the quickest by only 3 thousandths over Jacob Manning, but they're both around a 10th quicker than Jacob Branski, so they're trying to get back to the number 23 in that baby blue Toyota.
These drivers are starting to spread out a little bit more than they were in that giant pack that they had earlier. I think the energy going down the straightaways has calmed down a little bit with less drivers being in the field. There's less drivers going bumper to bumper, pushing each other down the straightaways. So now we're starting to see a little bit more of a traditional race, just with a really strong toe added to it, as now these drivers have a bit more of an opportunity to use tires to try and gain position over the run.
Yeah, at this point, it's really all going to be about tires. And I have mentioned that these drivers are most likely going to hit the pit at least one time during this run. So it's a real question on when these drivers want to make that pit stop. And we've seen the cautions here today. It's definitely calmed down here. But once these drivers get close again, it's just so hard to pass. And we've seen so many close calls on drivers trying to complete the pass. So I can definitely see another caution here too. So you need to pick the right time to make that final pit stop.
Yeah, and I would almost go as far as to say, from how it's been looking, it almost seems to be that the lead is just not that strong of a position. I almost would rather be where Jacob Manning is right now, sitting in that second position. You're able to run whatever lane you want to get clean air in the nose, but then you get the toe down the straightaway, meaning you could take the corners slower and still run the same lap time. So honestly, I think Manning's in a great spot as he pulls to the inside of Branski. I don't know if he'll be able to keep it, but they are side by side down the front straightaway. We got a battle for the lead.
Me personally, I would like the position that Branski's in. I like the race lead. It's been difficult to complete that pass. We've seen it many times as Manning dives it into 1 and 2. He's just not going to be able to clear them. It's so hard to complete these passes. The only time we've really seen these passes completed well is if someone either gets help or at the beginning of these runs. Once these tires begin to fall off, if someone's riding the high lane in front of you, it's really hard to complete that pass without a push or someone making a mistake or something. I just love Branski's position right now. If Branski runs the laps that he's running continuously and stays on that high side, I don't see anybody getting past him without getting a push.
To be fair, that is the one thing I noticed last time at Vegas when these guys were at another 1.5 miles, a little bit faster, a little bit higher banking, but they run the bottom a lot more, was that it really was very hard to pass the leader even if you got the outside. But here at this track, I feel that with them so high in the lane throughout the corner, you could throw a big slide job in the center if you take the entry fast enough. I think there is the chance to pass the leader if you get enough of a run.
If you get enough of a run, maybe off of turn 3 and 4, you can maybe complete the pass. But I still don't even see that happening unless you get at least a little bit of help from a teammate or something. And that's why we have these teammates up here. We have the 25-11 guys. We have the split-second guys. So we can see that work. We can see a pass for the lead for sure, as Henderson's trying to get past the number 1 of Jacob Manning on the inside and just can't quite complete the pass. It looks like he's going to try again here in 1 and 2, and Zach Rogers making a move to the outside as well in the back.
I think the one thing that's been notable that I think I've just started to realize has been a thing tonight is that if you are trying to make the pass on the bottom, it almost seems to be you want to be side by side going into turns 1 and 2. The slide job just seems to be easier into that corner than it is in 3 and 4, even though the bottom seems to be faster in 3 and 4.
It's really all about timing, Alex, especially in 3 and 4. It's really just about timing, because once you cross up to that high lane in 3 and 4, it just, the whole track just kind of changes for you, and the car just reacts to it moving up to the high side. 1 and 2, it's a little easier. It's a little more of a smooth transition to that high side.
Yeah, I almost saw Heller got into the wall off turn 2. He just narrowly missed it. That was a very close one for Heller as he got a little bit loose almost into Elliott, but Elliott gave him enough room. And now he's going to be side by side with him down into turn 1. Reason to believe he will have this position coming out of turn 2.
Branski gotta love this, because these tires continue to fall off. So once these tires continue to fall off, the draft at that point is not really going to mean as much as they get farther along into this run. And you see Manning's trying to keep up with Branski as best as he can, but third on back is beginning to fall a little bit far back after that hit, after Heller took that hit to the wall, and they're going to try to get back up to the top 2.
Well, what I just saw there was Branski gave the bottom to Manning, and Manning had a really good corner and didn't really lose a lot down the straightaway. He's going to do it again. I mean, look how close they are in the middle of the straightaway. Manning's not losing much running that bottom. I think Branski needs to move to the bottom and force Manning on the high side, because right now I think this is just helping Manning more than it's hurting him.
And this could be a strategy for Manning. I know I have done this personally, where I would just run. If I felt like the high lane was the place to go And if I can at least run the low line somewhat, I'm going to keep on running that low line, try to trick the driver in front of me. Just try to trick him like I'm going to keep on going to that low line, keep on going to the low line. And then I'm just going to jump high, Days of Thunder style, and pass him up high.
Oh, well, that was sketchy going down the back straightaway. Elliott got clear of Heller, but Zach Rogers slotted his way in there. Zach Rogers, who fell back to the back of this pack, is coming back a little bit. But Heller almost came up into him down the middle of the back straightaway, maybe not realizing Zach Rogers was coming high. But he's got the position on Heller, and he's going to slot his way up into, I believe that'll be the 4th position. So Zach Rogers coming back into this race.
Very close call with our leaders last time around 3 and 4. You see Manning's falling a little bit farther back from Branski. Manning almost got into the quarter panel of Branski coming off of 3 and 4 and had to get off the gas. And now he's fallen back to Henderson. He's going to try to get back up to Branski, but now he has Henderson and Zach Rogers right in there behind him, trying to get the 2nd spot away.
I am not sure what had happened, but the gap between Manning and Branski has just gotten massive. I mean, Manning was right on his bumper just a couple laps ago, and now it's pulled out to almost 7-8 car lengths. What happened to Manning? Because now he's trying to get passed by Elliott.
Yeah, he almost got into Branski coming off of 3 and 4 and had to get way off the gas and fell all the way back to Henderson almost immediately in the number 1 machine, Jacob Manning. And now he's going to try to get back up. What a move from Rogers. Whoa. Rogers jumps to the high side. He's going to try to get to Henderson. Wow, that was almost a phenomenal move. He's going to fall in behind him.
You know, Zach Rogers with a bold move. He's not going to be able to make it stick, but I mean, he just sat there in the back of the pack most of this run, and oh, 2 drivers coming down pit road, possibly 3 as well. No, Heller's going to miss the pit lane, so that's going to hurt him, but Branski and Manning are down the pit lane, our 2 front runners.
And pit stops, the final pit stops of the day have begun. Branski and Manning have came down pit road. Let's see what happens here, see what kind of a good stop they can get. And Heller is way off the pace here. Not sure what happened to Chris Heller.
Well, Heller missed the pit lane. He tried to slow down for the pit lane, but overshot it. So he made a crucial mistake and ended up having to keep going as he missed the commitment cone.
Yeah, he got hit. It looked like he got hit as he was slowing down. That's the thing I was mainly looking at, because he just seemed way off the pace. And looked like he got hit by somebody trying to drive past him. It looked like it might have been Madalinas in the 17, got him in the bumper a little bit. You're going to see it right here. It's a little slowed down for you here. It looks like Heller's trying to slow down for the pit road, and Madalinas wasn't quite right. He got a little bit into his bumper right there. Gave him a little bit of damage on the right rear, and then the number 11 of Heller just really slows down at that point.
Zach Rogers and Hunter Madalinas came down pit road the next lap, and currently right now we have Elliott Henderson on the pit lane. But interestingly enough, despite the fact that Chris Heller was trying to come down that lap, he's the one that's stayed out the longest. Everybody else is coming down the pit lane, and he's still out on track.
I think this is a great move from Heller. This is the only way that he really gives himself a shot. So how he's going to stay out and hope he has those fresh tires at the end. Or it could be even a win-win scenario where if there's a caution right now, a lot of these guys are going to be stuck a lap down as you see Branski and Manning trying to get past them before a caution would potentially come out. But this is the only way Heller is going to win this race at this point, because he missed pit road, so he's automatically going to lose the draft, and that damage might be affecting him as well on that right rear. So he's fallen way back, and this is his only opportunity to really win the race at this point, Alex, the number 11.
I think I'm also seeing a little bit of deja vu here with our 2 leaders. Jacob Branski leading with Jacob Manning trying to run him down. This is reminiscent of last week. We saw the same thing. Difference being this should be the last run of the race. There's going to be no more pit stops to try and split these guys up on strategy. So it's just going to be a matter of who can get by who and who can run the best pace over this run. I mean, I think there's a chance Elliott might catch him as he's got a couple lap newer tires, but he's a big portion back off of these guys. So I'm curious as to if he'll be able to make up the time to catch him.
Yeah, it's kind of became a 2, maybe 3 or 4 car race. You have your 2 race leaders out of the drivers that have made their pit stops already being Jacob Branski and Jacob Manning, who pit on the same lap, so they're on the same tires right there, and they're keeping up with each other. Then you have Elliot Henderson, who's around 3 seconds back of these two. He has 2 laps fresher tires, so we'll see if he'll be able to catch up to them. And then right behind him by around 2 or 3 tenths, you have Zach Rogers, who's right in the middle of these two groups of drivers, right in the middle, 1 lap fresher tires than our 2 leaders and 1 lap older tires than Elliot Henderson in the number 4 as he's trying to keep up with Henderson.
My problem with Elliot right now is that he doesn't have a draft. He's pretty much on his own while Zach Rogers is behind him. They may start to get a draft hooked up soon. Right now, they're losing time to the 2 leaders a little bit just because the 2 leaders are close enough to each other to give each other a draft. I mean, the draft has been huge all day. The bump drafting, the tow down the straightaways for the car behind. They're not really gaining too much time on these 2 leaders. I mean, Elliot's only really gained a 10th since they both came out of the pit lane. And only now is he starting to catch back up as Zach Rogers has finally gotten to his rear bumper.
Elliot Henderson needs to hope they're going to start battling, and there they go. They're going to start battling. These two are not teammates. In a lot of these scenarios that we've had, these 1-2 battles, it's been 2 teammates that end up just taking it easy for most of the run. But these two are not teammates. These two are essentially, they're not rivals, but they're part of rival teams. So we should see a pretty intense battle here as they begin to battle. 1 low, 1 high. Manning's trying to jump in front of Branski, but it's just not there.
And honestly, I don't even blame Manning for making this move with Zach Rogers and Elliott hooked up together now. They're going to be running them down. They have newer tires than them by 1 and 2 laps respectively. And so once they catch up, it's going to become so much harder for Jacob Manning to make this pass because Elliott's just going to go with Branski and try and pass Manning at every opportunity. So Manning has got to try and make this move while he still can, while it's just between the 2 of them, and while they still have tire left. As we saw in the last run, Branski pulled out right at the end of the run.
Then you have someone like Zach Rogers, who I'm pretty sure is an oddball out of this group. I don't think Zach Rogers is part of either organization, so he can really pick and choose who he wants to work with, and that could become everybody versus Manning or a 2v2 battle if they're able to get up there. Right now, these drivers have caught up a good amount. They're only a little over 2.5 seconds back right now. Last time by, Henderson and Rogers caught up 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, and a few weeks ago, we heard Elliott talk about after the Iowa race that towards the end of these races, it's no longer about teammates. It's just about winning the race. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Rogers were to try and help out Elliott, because Elliott is the kind of person that has that mentality. I don't think he'll wreck Branski, but if he gets the opportunity to pass him, he will, and that could open up the door for Zach Rogers to try and take possibly a 3-wide move if they catch up.
These drivers continue to chomp into that race lead. You see our race leaders here, Jacob Branski and Jacob Manning. Manning trying to keep up with Branski. It looked like Manning struggled a little bit getting off of turns 1 and 2 that last time by, and now he's trying to get back up to Branski. He's going to have a huge run coming down the front stretch. You see how close he's getting on your screen. You see how much he's closing down that gap, and he's now underneath them going into the corner. You just see how much draft means here, especially at the beginning part of these runs when they're on these fresh tires.
Well, they're gonna have to watch. He's gonna have to try and make this move soon because Elliott's running him down. It went from 3.5 to 1.5 seconds over these last 5 laps. So they're catching up very quickly, and if Manning can't make this move and get ahead of Branski, it's just gonna become that much harder for him to win this race.
Here he goes. Here goes Manning to the inside. Manning trying to make this pass on Branski. He's trying to make that pass on Branski so bad before Henderson and Rogers get there.
He also has to worry that he doesn't overheat and overdrive these tires. I know he wants to make this move, but if he overdrives it, like I've seen him do a couple times in a turn 1, trying to drive it in deep into the corner, that's just going to hurt the tires even more in this longer run and could almost completely take him out of a shot for the win if he kills these tires.
I said it earlier in the race. This is just one of those tracks where it's just so hard to complete the pass once you get a certain amount of laps on your tires. I don't know. Kind of treat it like a short track here. Like I said earlier, maybe try to give him that little bit of a bump on the front straightaway or something like that, just to make his car uncomfortable going into the corner, and you can just make the pass.
Well, I think the time is running out. Elliott is gotten close enough that I believe he's starting to catch a little bit of their draft. I mean, even without Zach Rogers behind him, he's catching up pretty quickly. So the time that Jacob Manning has left to have a 1v1 battle is running out. And on top of that, Branski seems to be pulling away from him now.
Yeah, they've kind of switched lanes. Branski took away Manning's lane to the inside, and Manning moved up high because of Branski taking that inside lane, and he's lost a little bit of time to Branski doing that. But here comes Henderson. You see him on your screen getting closer and closer. Henderson's kind of checked out from Zach Rogers almost. Rogers is almost a second behind Elliott Henderson.
These drivers are going to be approaching about 11 laps to go to the end of this race, and it's going to be a 3-horse race, but the person in the best position right now is Elliott. He's got a run that's going to come from this high side. I don't think he'll make the move in this corner, but he might make the move going into turn 3 this next time by, because he's just got so much more pace than Manning and Branski right now.
I know Manning's going to be doing everything he can to keep Henderson behind him, but here comes Henderson on his inside, coming out of 1 and 2. What can Manning do on that high side? Henderson had a huge run off the corner, because it looked like Manning had struggled in the middle off, maybe got a little bit loose, and gave up that bottom side to Henderson. Oh, almost contact. Very hard racing from Manning. Manning really put the squeeze on Henderson. They're going to be racing, coming down the front stretch with 10 laps to go here at Chicagoland Speedway with Jacob Branski right in front of them.
I think that just goes to show how strong that outside lane is even with this newer tire that Elliott has, he just can't seem to make the pass, but oh man, does it get tight off of turn 2. Manning almost into the wall, Elliott almost into Manning. These drivers are racing so close together as he throws a big slide job into 3 and 4 and will clear him.
I've said it, it's just so hard to complete that pass on the bottom lane, especially when you have a little bit of wear on your tires. Henderson's tires might be a little bit fresher, but it's still hard to complete that pass. And now he sets his eyes on the number 23 of Jacob Branski. Does he have enough time to get to him and pass him?
Well, with about coming on to 8 laps to go, he's not going to have a lot of time to do it, but I believe with his pace, he can at least get side by side. It's just a matter of will he even be able to get around him. And if so, when they do that, Manning's going to be behind him for certain. He'll be right on his bumper, so who does he go with? Does he take it 3 wide? Does he push somebody else? Does he want Branski, who's been holding him off the entire race, to win, or does he want Elliott, who has the better tire, to get the lead?
And at this point, if these drivers start battling here in a moment, I wouldn't even count out Zach Rogers at this point. Zach Rogers is only a second back of these 3. If if all 3 of these drivers start battling for position, Zach Rogers is going to be right there.
You know, we saw earlier in the race when these guys were in a bigger pack, the moment anybody was battling, the driver that was on the losing end would lose a massive amount of time to the guys behind. So there's no saying what could happen with somebody like Zach Rogers, who's just narrowly keeping in touch with these guys. But Elliott's, he's got to run. He's coming down the back straightaway right up to Branski's bumper. We're going to see a battle soon, I assure you.
Henderson likes that high side, and if I'm Branski, I maybe try to throw some blocks here. I know this is your teammate and everything, but like Elliott was saying, he was saying that once you get down to these end of these things, teammates kind of go out the window. We have 6 laps to go here at Chicagoland. Is the teammate thing out the window at this point? What happens between Branski and Henderson? Jacob Manning is not too far behind them if these two begin to get squirrely. Here comes Henderson to the inside of his teammate. Jacob Branski. Branski fighting hard on the high side. There's almost contact coming off the corner. Very hard racing between these guys coming down the front stretch.
This is the ideal position for Elliott. He's got a massive side draft. He's actually ahead of him into turn 1. Is he going to throw the slider? Branski's going to try and drive it deep, but Elliott just has the better tire and will clear him out of turn 2. Elliott Henderson to the lead.
And Henderson takes the lead at the right time here in the late goings, and Branski did not get a good enough run off the corner to do a crossover move to the inside. Henderson has this race smooth sailing at this point. Will we have a caution? Can Henderson keep his car clean and stay in front of Branski?
Well, with so few drivers left in the race, the closest battling is happening between these two leaders. They're the closest together, only a few tenths apart. So, I mean, really, if we're going to see something happen, it's going to be between these two, if anything. And I just don't know if Branski has the tire to make a move.
Branski's keeping up with them for now. He's right there. He's trying to keep up with Henderson as best he can. If Henderson makes a slight mistake or a slight error of any kind, Branski's going to be all over it in the number 23 as we just have a few laps to go. Only 3 to go here at Chicagoland Speedway.
Elliot Henderson, he's not able to pull away, but he just seems to be able to hold him off pretty easily. I'm not seeing
Manning's in
Branski.
the wall. Manning's in the wall, and he's down all the way into the grass. The number 1 of Jacob Manning, and he's able to keep it straight for now and stay in front of Zach Rogers. Wow, that was very close. We could have gotten our caution right there.
That was extremely close. Yeah, we're going to have to be watching 2 battles because we could see a battle for the 3rd position or final interview spot and then a battle for the lead between Branski and Elliot.
Elliot Henderson and Jacob Branski. Branski's still right there. You see this battle between Manning and Rogers as well. These are 2 good battles going on in the racetrack. Here comes Branski. He's going to send it in 3 and 4. He's all over Henderson. Henderson throws the block. The white flag is in the air for Bobby Carter.
Intense battle for the 3rd position. Zach Rogers to the outside of Manning. They were side by side all the way from turn 1 and 2 down to 3 and 4. So we're going to be seeing a battle there, but we saw Branski make a daring move into turn 3. Does he do it again? I think he's just simply too far away by this point to make that move. So really the battle is for these guys in the back, but Zach Rogers is going to clear Manning for the 3rd position.
And here comes Elliot Henderson, Mr. Bobby Carter. Went a little bit off strategy, and he's going to get the job done here in Chicagoland. Elliot Henderson wins the Roundabout Gaming 200 at Chicagoland Speedway. And Zach Rogers will edge out Manning for 3rd. What a race.
0.02 of a second between those 2 drivers for the 3rd position. Excellent finish between those 2, but just unfortunate for Manning as he looked like he had 3rd locked up and just made a mistake and lost that spot.
Wow, crazy last few laps. Literally the lap before Manning got into the wall, I think Rogers got into the wall as well. So those 2 drivers were racing hard to try to get up there. But Henderson wounds up on top once again. Your points leader coming into today. Henderson has a message to send to everybody else that he is championship worthy here this year. Watching him burn it down. Elliot Henderson, he put on a phenomenal show. Like I mentioned, he came into this race the points leader, 5 points in front of his teammate Jacob Branski coming into this race. He was able to steal the win away.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, our winner is already ready to talk to us. So we're going to be pulling in Elliot Henderson. Elliot Henderson, our winner for the race. What a great move at the finish of the race to get around Jacob Branski, and the strategy just worked out for you there at the end. Tell us about your night. You had an eventful one.
Yeah, I mean, dude, first of all, I hate this package. I don't understand why it's the way it is. I don't know why the top lane became the lane, but yeah, luckily it worked out for us how the field kind of thinned out there, and then Manning called pitting, and Branski said, "I'm gonna go with him," and I said, "Stay out 2 laps, stay 2 with me, and he said, "No, I gotta go," and that was it. I mean, for me, that 2 lap strategy never fails, man. I always try to stick by that if I can. You never know how much ground you're gonna lose, and it's lonely while you're out there, man. Very, but yeah, I actually faked Zach in. I told him I was going to pit just to make sure I wasn't going to get run over and I could run my pit stop and enter pit road how I wanted to. I get so fearful of that. But yeah, I'm glad those guys both raced me clean. I think Manning wanted to hold me up, but I think he ended up giving it to me. And Branski, you know, it's a hard fight with him, but he's my teammate. We're always going to race hard, and it's a ton of fun to have that guy on the team with that level of talent. But I had to try to make sure that this points lead's not going anywhere. So hopefully other guys can win these races so that Branski and I can just kind of settle out where we are instead of us having to go toe to toe with wins. But right now we've got the 13-point advantage or something around there. Probably 12 with him probably leading the most laps. But all in all, night I wanted. I didn't think it was going to end up like this, but we got it.
Yeah, you had an experience of pretty much everything tonight. I want you to tell us a little bit about how you dealt with what almost felt like a plate race at a mile and a half here. I mean, you were out front, you were in the middle, you were in the back, you were pretty much everywhere in the pack during this race. So tell us how you dealt with those kinds of positions and how you tried to make passes on people.
By yelling in your own ear as loud as possible, typically. It felt like as soon as you I felt like when I ran a half lane under everybody that I had the speed that they didn't have on corner exit, but you can't complete anything until you're actually by them or if they give you the spot because they can just drag you into the corner. So it was frustrating, to say the least. But I feel bad for. I think a door clapped Chris at one point. Manning and I got into it. I pushed a bunch of guys around, but it kind of that's how you had to race here to really try to manage where you were in line. It felt like Talladega. You could push someone out of line, make them make mistakes, and a bunch of different things. So just a lot of arrow wars basically. But at the end of the day, it was all about just making sure that the tires were okay because when you get to those long runs and those guys eat up tires, I thought that I'd make a better strategy that way. I didn't know it was going to work out with the fact that Manning raced me. I thought those 2 laps actually killed me. I even said to Bransky, I'm like, I think you pretty much got this, man. I think those 2 laps just saved your butt there. But somehow we made it work. And I don't really know how. I don't know how we made it work on the bottom either because that was pretty much impossible to do all night. I thought I had Chris Hunter cleared it multiple times and I never actually got it done. But when you don't have any draft going on, it's easier to just kind of set it in there and hope it sticks because that guy behind you is typically going to get about as tight as you are on corner exit to the point that they really can't even undercut you on exit. So that was it. Just sending sliders all day. I thought maybe we were going to get a Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson finish towards the end, but able to cut the nose off going into 3 of Bransky and get him real tight on exit and just make sure that we could drive away there nice and easy.
Well, you were the master of slide jobs tonight, and at the end of the race, you were the master of the tire strategy, and you came away with a win. So who do you have to thank for that?
Shout out to Roundabout Productions. Michael Levine sponsored this race tonight. I don't know what the name was. He didn't tell me what the name was. Supposedly, I was supposed to have a bunch of stuff to say, but he didn't send it to me. So, shout out Michael Levine, LFR, and Roundabout Productions for sponsoring this race tonight. And then, shout out to Branski, all my guys. Austin Moore was in this. Austin, I thought was gonna have a good night, but I think he ended up with some damage. Nicholson had a strong night going until that contact with Hunter. I don't know what happened there. I'm not going to speculate, but just some unfortunate contact between those two. And just thanks to Bransky for all the help tonight between the restarts and the strategy calls and stuff like that. We stuck together and until the end. I mean, if he'd stick with me on strategies more, he'd probably have beat me tonight. But I'm okay with him going off strategy if it puts me in victory lane. But he's an awesome teammate. Looking forward to settling his championship mano a mano like we did tonight, and seeing where these next 5-6 races take us.
Well, you had a great race tonight, Elliot, and you got a fantastic win tonight. Great battle, and congratulations for that, and thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our winner. But we got the person coming up next who just wasn't able to get it right at the end, just lost out to his teammate there in the end with the strategy. Jacob Branski finishing second, tried to battle back right at the end after getting passed, but just didn't seem to have the tire to do it. Bransky, what did you need to do different to try and beat Elliott here tonight?
Probably try and block him more honestly, but he just all he did, he just pit 2 laps after us. We were talking about like the pit strategy and stuff, and I decided to go in when Manning went in, and he was set on the 2 laps later, and ended up working out for him in the end.
Yeah, you pit 2 laps earlier. We heard Elliott saying that that you had to, that you were telling him that you had to pit there. What was the reason behind that?
Because I knew Manning was the closest one to me, and that's what happened last week. Is I didn't want to like lose the lead. Like honestly, I didn't think that he would be able to like gain on us so much by pitting later because I knew there was only like 20 laps left in the race, but there was just like a perfect amount of laps to where he was able to pass me right at the end.
All right. Well, I'm curious to say you led for a huge chunk of this race, almost half of it, I believe. What was it like trying to lead the race, and what advantage do you feel you had over the rest of the field? Because from our perspective, you didn't seem to be able to pull away, but it didn't seem like on the longer runs your tires were that much better than the rest of the field. So, what do you think the advantage was from your perspective?
Yeah, leading is just a big advantage because you just have the clean air. So, I just tried to lead as many laps as I can and tried to hold off Manning, but Elliott was just faster at the end of the day.
All right. Well, you made a good fight for it at the end of the race. You just narrowly weren't able to make it work out. Strategy caught you off guard, but you still ran a fantastic race. And there's people you got to thank for that. So who are they?
Thanks to my team, Split Second Esports, and thanks to you guys and the league owners.
All right. Well, thank you, Jacob Branski, for coming in tonight. Trying to currently help out a third place driver to get him into the booth to talk to us tonight. But while we wait for that, let's promote our sponsors stream that they're going to be doing November 12th. The Roundabout Gaming Group is going to be holding a 24-hour charity stream for Extra Life November 12th at 7 p.m. on their Twitch at Roundabout Pro on twitch.tv. Make sure you check them out because they're going to be doing this all for charity. But and we got to thank them for sponsoring this race and allowing us to cover this stuff. All right. Well, it seems like we're starting to have a couple issues trying to get our driver into the booth. He's trying to get in here, seems to be having some difficulties with the service. So, why don't we, while we wait for him a little bit, that we talk about our results for tonight because we had a smaller field, but the results kind of spread out. So, Kyle, why don't you cover that a little bit?
All right, we'll go over the results a little bit. It's a 12-car field, so we'll have the two slides for you. Henderson, of course, coming out on top with that different strategy. You had Jacob Branski coming home second, his teammate, and then coming home third, you had Zach Rogers, who was able to slip in front of Jacob Manning after Manning hit the wall off of two late. Manning got fourth after a phenomenal day. Christopher Heller, after missing pit road and going way off of strategy, ended up still coming home with the top five. Austin Moore with that damage came home sixth. Matt Daniels was able to just keep on trucking. Great job from Matt Daniels, able to come home seventh with all that damage that he sustained earlier. Just very tough from him just to stick it out and get as many points as he can. Nathan Nicholson coming home eighth after his issues with ninth place driver Hunter Madalinas. And then 10th, you have Brandon White. And then on the final slide, you have Lewis Woodall and Tyler McClellan coming home 11th and 12th, respectively. Definitely a crazy one out there for some of these guys here in the Roundabout Gaming 200 at Chicagoland Speedway. Henderson able to come out on top. Alex, any thoughts from you?
Well, I think tonight we had a very interesting race. I was surprised to see the kind of racing we got tonight. Typically, you see this track become a lot of a spread out race due to tire wear in the multi lanes, but tonight these drivers were all packed together and it created some crazy intense racing that I was not expecting. But this package caught me by surprise tonight. It left us breathless for most of the night, and that was awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was phenomenal to watch. And just to talk a little bit more about Roundabout Gaming a little bit real quick, like Alex was saying, they have a 24-hour charity stream for Extra Life November 12th at 7 p.m. You can tune into their Twitch, which is Roundabout Pro, spelled just like that with the R, the A, and the P capitalized. Roundabout Pro is their Twitch, and you can follow them on many platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That is Roundabout Gaming. That's really good. They're doing a charity event for them, but I don't think we're gonna get our third place interview here today, Alex. It's not looking very good for Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I'm afraid he's having issues tonight. Hopefully, talk to him soon. I'm afraid we are unable to talk. So, as a little bit of a substitution, we may come and talk to our fourth place finisher. We're going to talk to Jacob Manning. So, hello, Jacob Manning. Welcome to the interview booth. A bit of a surprise interview tonight, but you were that close to third place across the line, 2/100ths of a second with Zach Rogers. But other than that, you ran a fantastic race tonight. So tell us how your night went.
Oh, surprise interview, man. Jeez. Not fun. Man, that thing was plowy. I mean, it's weird because when I first got in the session, it was loose, and technically it is loose when you're coming off pit road like that. I don't know if you guys could see, but me and Branski were wheeling it off the pit road. It was very loose down there off the banking. And then once we get up on the track, it just starts plowing. And I was trying so hard to get by him, but there's nothing I could do. If I let him go, I was going to burn my stuff up in his dirty air. If I stayed with him, I was going to burn my stuff up trying to get by him. So I just decided to try and stay with him, and maybe I'd have a shot. And then here comes Elliott. Oh, my word, man. Out of nowhere. But I don't know. It was a good race, I guess. It was interesting. The first few runs when we had those caution streaks on, because it was like we were all bunched up. No one could get away from anyone. And I knew that once we got green flag pit stops, it was just going to be just like Las Vegas, where once we got green flag pit stops, we're going to get all spread out, and it was going to be a game of who was up there. And, I mean, I guess technically I was wrong because Elliott caught us from, 5 seconds back. But I don't even know, man. I mean, it was fun, yeah, but it was just grueling to sit back there in the dirty air. It was terrible.
Yeah, we also heard from Branski. He was very surprised about just how much Elliott caught them at the end of the race. And do you think you could have tried to pull a similar strategy to Elliott, or was your only thought in your mind to just copy Branski and try and jump him?
My thought was to beat him on pit road, and I know how this works. You short pit by a lap or two. It's as simple as that. And you get, 5 seconds out there, what we were on Elliott. So our plan was to come down pit road on whatever lap it was. I think it was 107, 108, something like that. And I called it out very early, and I knew Branski was going to come. And that was the mistake I made, was calling it so early, because we needed to be a team thing, and it ended up not being that way. So then we're coming down. Hunter sees that Branski's coming, so he's trying to cancel, but we're already on the brakes. He gets into Christopher. So Christopher Eller stays out. He stays out, and then it's just me and Branski pitting, and I was like, oh, I got to beat him. Overshot my pit box. But so did he, so it was cool. He didn't get too far away from me, but I knew I had to beat him on pit road, and I just made the mistake calling it out way too early. So I guess I'll have to try and do better at that next week at Indianapolis, which should not be fun, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, your race wasn't without some eventfulness other than the end of the race. You seem very clearly frustrated at is that earlier in the race, coming out of turn 2 down the back straightaway, big accordion effect, and you get looped around. Could you tell us about what happened there? Remind us of what happened, and do you think something you could have done to avoid that?
Yeah, I saw it coming, and I figured Branski was going to go to the inside, and he kind of stayed halfway between going to the next lane and being in the same lane. So I just kind of was going wherever he was going to try and get through it, and he didn't react fast enough. So he got into the back of whoever it was. I think it was Hunter. I'm not quite sure who it was. It might have been Elliott. I can't remember. Anyways, whoever was in front of Branski. And then, I was trying to get on my brakes, but Nicholson was getting run over. So he couldn't get on the brakes. So he got into me, and then I just got sandwiched, and there's nothing you can do at that point. Got the rear tires lifted off the ground, and the thing went around. So I'm not mad about that. I mean, it's just a racing thing. Shit happens, and I understand that. I know everyone else understands that. It just happens sometimes. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. That was an unlucky moment, but I was fine after that. I didn't have too bad of damage. Neither did Hunter or Chris or anything, so we were able to get back up out there and keep going until the next caution.
Well, you still came away with a 4th place finish. May not be exactly what you wanted considering the position you were in, but you still came away with a good result considering the night that we've had. So who do you have to thank for that?
I go with the broadcast team again, man. awesome being up here and being broadcast. I think there's a lot of leagues that don't do that, but it's like, we can get some viewers at home, some family members or people we know to come out here and like support us. That's something big. You don't want to go out there and race by yourself and knowing you're just doing it by yourself. You want to have teammates. You want to have, people at home watching you who are supporting you, and they're on your team. They want you to win. They're rooting for you, and it's awesome. And you guys make that possible. So thanks to you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Jacob Manning, for coming in. Congratulations on the finish, even if you're not happy. And, well, we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be our interviews for tonight finished up. Sorry we couldn't get you with our third place finisher. Problems with him tonight caused that to be a bit of a problem, but we had a great race to watch, and we're going to be here next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. for the Great Lakes Cup Series. Once again, we'll see these drivers have to duke it out once more.
We'll see them duking it out once again. Next week we'll be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As you heard Jacob Manning mentioning, Indianapolis Motor Speedway next week for Great Lakes Cup Series as we enter the second half of the season. And then in the Great Lakes Truck Series action, we continue the first round of the playoffs as we have the cutoff race at Bristol. 200 laps around Bristol. That's going to be a blast on Tuesday, Alex.
Certainly will. Bristol is a bit of a madhouse for a reason, so that'll be a fun one, especially with drivers looking for their last chance shot to run their way into the playoffs.
I would like to thank all of you for tuning into this evening. I would like to congratulate once again Mr. Elliot Henderson on a phenomenal race today. Great strategy, able to put himself in victory lane today. And I would like to once again thank Roundabout Gaming for sponsoring this race. The Roundabout Gaming 200. Tune into the charity stream for Extra Life on November 12th at 7 p.m. on their Twitch channel. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's Great Lakes action. Once again, congratulations to Elliot Henderson, and we will see you either on Tuesday or Thursday for the Great Lakes series. Good night.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.